Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into an absolutely wild character arc from ancient history. I mean, just picture the epic scale of ancient Babylon. It was the unrivaled superpower of its day, full of towering architecture, immense wealth, and ruled by a king whose word literally meant life or death. We're going to explore what happens when ultimate human power collides head-on with divine authority. It's a story of blinding pride, radical defiance, and a staggering downfall that you really have to see to believe. Let's get right into it.
Hello everyone, this is TN Inside. Let's begin by reading today's scripture passage from the book of Daniel, chapters 3 and 4. Okay, that sets our foundation perfectly, giving us a direct, unvarnished look at the historical and spiritual realities recorded in the text.
Moving into Section 1, the Towering Golden Image, Chapter 3, the Ultimate Test of Allegiance. Okay, let's dive into this. Our story kicks off with King Nebuchadnezzar, staging what has got to be the most massive demonstration of ego in the ancient world. He decides he's going to test the absolute loyalty of everyone in his empire out on the vast plain of Dura. To really wrap your head around this scene, imagine a solid gold idol that's a staggering 27 meters tall. That's, roughly the height of a 9-story building? And 2.7 meters wide. It's an absolute architectural nightmare of sheer ego, just shimmering in the blazing Middle Eastern sun. This wasn't just a statue, It was a towering psychological weapon designed to completely dwarf anyone who stood in front of it. So, the king's royal decree was totally uncompromising. It was brutally simple. He gathers all his governors and top officials, and he lays down the law. The exact second the grand symphony of horns and instruments starts playing, every single person has to hit the dirt and worship this thing. Refuse? You're getting tossed straight into a blazing furnace. No middle ground, no appeals. But get this, amidst this massive sea of thousands of people bowing down in absolute terror, 3 men just stand standing. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These are 3 young exiled officials from Judah, and by refusing to bow, they're literally defying the most powerful man on the planet. They are choosing their faith in the Most High God over their own survival, right in front of the entire Babylonian government. When they're dragged in front of the furious king, they drop what's got to be one of the most powerful lines in ancient text. They confidently tell him their God can save them from the fire. But then they add this incredible, emotional punch. But even if he does not, we will not bow down. I mean, wow. They're saying their obedience isn't conditional on being rescued. Their radical defiance holds firm no matter what it costs them. Section 2, into the fiery furnace, surviving the unsurvivable. So obviously this enrages Nebuchadnezzar beyond all reason. He takes this massive blow to his ego and escalates the whole thing into a literal physical trial by fire. Now, the furnace they used here was likely a massive brick kiln. Normally, these things could hit a lethal 1,260 degrees Celsius. But the king is so blinded by his fury that he orders it heated 7 times hotter than usual. He is pushing the brick to its absolute structural limits here. The stakes literally could not be higher. And the sequence of events that follows is just shocking. First, the mighty soldiers tie the 3 men up and throw them in, fully clothed. Second, the radiant heat is so intensely devastating that it actually kills the guards just from getting too close to the door. But then, step 3. The king leaps to his feet in complete disbelief. He looks into this inferno and sees not 3, but 4 men just walking around unharmed. He says the 4th looks like a son of the gods, which the source notes is often understood as the pre-incarnate Christ right there in the flames with them. When the king finally calls them out, the aftermath defies all logic. Their bodies? Completely unburnt. Not a single hair singed, their robes are perfectly intact, and get this, they didn't even smell like smoke. Talk about not needing dry cleaning, right? This undeniable miracle forces the amazed king to completely backtrack. He immediately praises their God, decrees protection for their faith, and actually promotes Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Section 3, the terrifying tree dream, Chapter 4, a warning to the king. Now, you'd really think the king had learned his lesson after all that, right? Well, fast forward a bit, the previously humbled ruler is back to living the high life, wealthy and powerful in his lavish palace, but his peace gets totally shattered by this terrifying vision he has in his bed. None of his local astrologers or magicians can make sense of this dream, so he calls in Daniel. And notice he refers to him by his Babylonian name, Belteshazzar, which literally means Bel protect his life. It's a fascinating detail because it highlights the immense cultural pressure Daniel was under, since that name directly invokes the very Babylonian gods the king serves. Daniel listens to the dream, and he is instantly terrified by what it means. He really reluctantly gives the interpretation. That massive, beautiful tree reaching the heavens, that represents King Nebuchadnezzar himself and his towering dominion. But the chopped-down stump left in the field, bound with iron and bronze, yeah, that signifies a catastrophic, impending downfall for the king.
In the dream, this fate is handed down by a watcher. And as defined here, a watcher is a heavenly messenger, an angel sent straight from heaven to carry out God's commands. And this watcher's decree is severe. The king's power is going to be stripped away, and he'll be forced to live out in the wild with animals for 7 years until he finally acknowledges a power higher than his own throne. Section 4, 7 Years of Madness, the Fall from Grace. This brings us to a really dark turn in the story. We're transitioning from the absolute pinnacle of luxury into a brutal psychological trial of sheer madness. The drop is steep, and it's absolute. Let's move to this timeline and see how this all builds. We start with the warning dream at point 1, but check out point 2 at the 12-month mark. God actually gives Nebuchadnezzar a full year of grace, a whole year to turn things around. But he doesn't, and that delayed consequence leads straight into the 7 brutal years of madness at point 3 before he finally gets his sanity back at point 4. Let's zoom right in on that 12-month mark. The king is strolling on the roof of his royal palace, looking out over his magnificent empire, and he drops this exact fatal boast. Is not this the great Babylon I have built by my mighty power and for the glory of my majesty? And literally, in that fraction of a second, a voice falls from heaven, formally stripping his authority away. The consequence is immediate. It's visceral. The single most powerful man on the planet is struck with a severe condition. He's driven away from human society. He's living outdoors with the wild animals, and his behavior degrades so far that he is literally out there eating grass like cattle. It's just the most jarring contrast you can imagine, from supreme, unmatched luxury and authority to animalistic survival in the dirt. Section 5, Restoration and Final Takeaways, the Return of Sanity and Power. But you know, the story doesn't end in the dirt. Let's cement the final, timeless lesson of this incredible character arc. After those 7 appointed years, Nebuchadnezzar finally lifts his eyes to heaven, and his sanity returns. And this brilliantly illustrates his profound transformation. Look at the contrast here. On the left, you have an arrogant, untouchable sovereign demanding people worship a golden idol on pain of death. And on the right, a profoundly humbled human being, fully acknowledging that the Most High is the true sovereign over all the kingdoms of the earth. So after his sanity and honor are fully restored, and his kingdom is actually reestablished even greater than before, the king officially writes a decree to all the nations and languages under his rule. He publicly confesses these core truths. God does exactly what he pleases. Human power is literally nothing in comparison. His ways are entirely right and just. And most importantly, God is able to humble those who walk in pride. I mean, for an ancient dictator, that is an unbelievable public admission. And what's really amazing is how the source text frames this. It isn't just an ancient history lesson. It's a timeless reality. It draws a direct, unbroken line from Babylon straight to today. Even the most powerful, influential 21st century rulers are under this exact same divine rule. Take away all the wealth, the titles, and the influence, and earthly leaders are merely human before the Most High. Which leaves us with something incredibly vital to think about as we wrap up this explainer. If the absolute most powerful king in the ancient world could be brought so low that he was out in a field eating grass, how might unchecked pride be blinding the leaders, the corporations, and the influencers of our world today? It really shows that pride is a powerful silencer of truth. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this fascinating source text. Stay curious, stay humble, and keep learning.